In my previous video, I visited the garden at the top of Walkie-Talkie Building, also known as Sky Garden. Come to think of it, there was never any other name for it. It's perfect. Leaving the building, I thought I already hit the high note for the day. I was wrong. Very wrong. Not knowing the distance to my next destination, I put the address in my iPhone and quite literally a few blocks later arrived in front of one of London's most prestigious addresses, 120 Fenchurch Street. Walking into what seemed like a very typical downtown office tower lobby, I was immediately taken by surprise, as hypnotic video footage on a gigantic ceiling display was hovering above some 20-30 feet overhead. All images on display are those of London. Amazing sculptural structures of the tree canopies gives the way to cityscape and transitions into water ripple. It's like looking at the water surface from below, quite mesmerizing. The elevator whisks your way to the top of the building and deposits you into a scene I promise you will not be ready for. High above the bustling city streets, you're stepping into a lush garden. While the garden of this splendor would be remarkable, on the ground level, its rooftop position amongst London's skyline is beyond words. It's a stunning oasis in the sky. The first element that greets you is an elaborate pattern of the overhead metal structure. The pergola's crystalline shapes mirrors the language of the building's design, blending seamlessly with its origami-like folds. Its orderly geometrical patterns provide a comforting sense of enclosure, akin to tranquil open-air room. This creates an inviting sense of safety, especially when contrasted with the vast openness of the sky above the towering high-rise, which can feel overwhelming. The pergola at 120 serves a dual purpose. Its design lifts the foliage above your eye level, drawing your gaze upwards. And more importantly, it's a stage for the star of the show, wisteria, in its full flowering glory. In this masterful creation by German landscape architecture firm Letts & Partners, every detail is meticulously planned. The steel support legs of the pergola are artfully crafted to resemble multi-stem trees stretching towards the sky. As the time passes and the wisteria matures, these metal pillars will transform. What begins as rigid steel will gradually take on an appearance of a natural, organically shaped trunks, beautifully twisted and full of life, seamlessly blending the man-made with the natural. The plants appear to spring directly from the roof itself, with hardly any planters in sight. The illusion is only interrupted when the greenery artfully ascends to form a bench or deliberate seating areas. You might find it surprising that the plants in this garden are not rooted in traditional soil. Instead, they thrive in a sophisticated, purely mineral mixture composed of lava rock, pumice stuff, and zeolite, whatever that is, with just 10% of organic matter. To ensure they receive essential nutrients, liquid fertilizer is meticulously delivered directly through an irrigation system. One thing you would not expect to see in a public rooftop garden is a large water feature. Yet here it is, 200 feet long, twisting and zigzagging, again picking up on the crystalline shape of the building below your feet. This vantage point creates a tranquil oasis, high enough for the bustling street noise to fade to a distant hum. In a choreographed environment, the sound of the garden takes center stage. The gentle trickle of the water and the rustling of foliage in the breeze envelop you into a soundscape far removed from the urban rush below. From the vantage point of the garden at 120, seen through the gardener's eye, the panorama offers a mesmerizing contrast that captivates and surprises. It's the interplay of lush plants with the iconic architectural landmarks that creates a surreal experience. Imagine the iconic gherkin or 30 St. Mary axe playfully peeking through the draping wisteria foliage. The unique wedge-like silhouette of the cheese grater or the Leadenhall building, set against the neatly trimmed hedges, creates a scene so perfectly aligned it feels like a masterful Photoshop collage brought to life. And then there's the striking visual of an espaliered fruit trees with the towering figures of the Shard and the walkie-talkie building in the background. This juxtaposition is more than just a view, it's a horticultural fantasy, blending the natural with the architectural in a way that's both unexpected and completely captivating. Stepping onto the rooftop of this garden, one is immediately struck by the sight of the meticulously clipped boxwood hedges. Emerging from the elevator, you're greeted by stunningly manicured boxwood parterre, a surprising element in such a modern setting. What's remarkable is how these hedges bridge the gap between the old and the new garden styles. While the concept of a boxwood parterre might seem traditional, here it takes on a contemporary flair. Its vibrant green pathways mirror the vertical lines of the pergolas overhead, cradling the wisteria in a soft, out-of-focus embrace. This detail, although subtle, is a vital part of the garden's charm. It may go unnoticed by those seeking a brief respite from their workday, but it's precisely these intentional design elements that weave together to create a garden that is not just a space, but an experience. A rich and layered composition of perennials awaits you at every turn. In late spring, cheerful heads of allium bulbs emerge, piercing through the dense, fresh foliage of anemones, foxgloves, and ferns. While traditional trees are absent in this garden, the climbing wisteria admirably takes on this role, creating natural architecture of its own. Here, perennials, ground covers, and vines coexist in perfect harmony, creating a lush green tapestry. This garden is not just a collection of plants, it's a living, breathing ecosystem where each element plays its part in creating this urban oasis. In the north-facing flower bed, a subtle transformation unfolds. Maintaining an integral plant scheme, the palette here shifts to embrace softer hues and the delicate textures of the shade-loving aristocrats. Ferns and climbing hydrangeas form the foundational elements of this serene composition, offering a backdrop of lush greenery. The middle layer, a harmonious assembly of mid-height flora, features the graceful lady's mantle, vibrant geraniums, and tall ferns, creating a tapestry of gentle, understated elegance. In this bed, climbing hydrangea plays a pivotal role. Its visually impenetrable foliage artfully conceals the utility structure within this section. This natural veil not only enhances the aesthetic appeal, but also integrates functionality seamlessly into this garden's design. Amidst this lush greenery, the woodland-like flowers of the foxglove, accompanied by the elegant ferns, serve as a gentle reminder of the intended ambience of this area, a tranquil woodland haven. Their presence reinforces the theme, inviting visitor into the space that beautifully mimics the serene and the untamed beauty of the woodland's edge garden. The garden at 120 has a collection of 30 fruit trees. Each tree, meticulously trained in a espaliered style, forms a living sculpture against the utility shed. The term espalier has French roots and traces back to the Italian spaliera, meaning to lean a shoulder against something. This horticultural practice, more than just a method of pruning, is a blend of horticultural art and history. It dates back to the times of Egyptian pharaohs, was refined by monks in the Middle Ages, and reached its peak in the gardens of French kings. Here on this rooftop, these espalier trees are not only a nod to a rich gardening heritage, but also a beautiful, space-efficient way to cultivate fruit in an urban setting and welcome pollinating insects. On a south-facing wall, fig trees are gracefully trained along horizontal wire, showcase an open style of pruning that lends them a striking and unique appearance. Beneath these figs, the garden is adorned with silvery foliage of Russian sage. This underplanting gives the border a distinctly Mediterranean ambiance. The combination of the fig's architectural form and sage's soft, silvery tones creates an atmosphere reminiscent of a tranquil coastal retreat in Mediterranean. Another perfect example of form and function, offering both aesthetic pleasure and a bountiful harvest. All rooftops across the globe share one thing in common. They're invariably subject to the whims of the wind. And no group of plants is better suited for these tough conditions than the ornamental grasses. They vary textures and heights, add an element of dynamic movement and visual interest to the rooftop gardens, any time of the year. The harsher the conditions, the more they shine. Taller grasses bend in the wind and add dynamic movement, while the shorter companions add unbeatable texture. But perhaps in fall and winter is when these indispensable plants in any perennial garden show their strength. Their dried up skeletons will remain upright for most of the winter, still adding visual interest to any garden. Essential utility structures on the roof are ingeniously disguised within the garden. They also provide a unique opportunity to, quite literally, turn the corner, revealing an unexpected new view. Shuttering, a process of lining the temporary form to support wet concrete using texture, in this case rough wood grain, was used during the construction. The walls are adorned with cream wood texture, complemented by a lush array of plants and vines, seamlessly integrating these functional elements into the rooftop's natural aesthetic. This clever design maintains both the garden's beauty and the building's functionality. After all the exploring, you may want to walk down one level to 2 restaurants and a very clean laboratory. The restaurants offer a range, from a deli with assortment of drinks and light snacks to a full sit-down lunch and dinner in a dining room covered with greenery overlooking the sprawling views of London. My time was short and new adventures were awaiting me. Leaving the lush greenery of this magnificent roof garden, I headed for my next destination. Join me next week when my London adventures continue and more gardeners are explored. Until then, happy gardening!